I hiked my first Camino de Santiago in September of 2024. The Portuguese coastal route starting from Portugal, and ending in Santiago, Spain. Here are the 10 mistakes I made. These are things that I definitely will change for future Caminos because all of these errors aside, it was still an absolutely incredible experience, and I honestly cannot wait to do it again. But with that in mind, the biggest mistake I think I made looking back was not using a hydration pack. I had reusable water bottles, and there were plenty of places to refill water for free along the trail, but I really underestimated how hot it would be. There were not a lot of clouds or shades a lot of the time I was walking, and we actually didn't get much rain at all, just a little mist, and I really underestimated how hot I would be. You can see here, for example, that I was wearing a long sleeve shirt, and that was a great choice for me, honestly, because it was like a sunscreen protectant, and that really helped protect my skin. I did have sunscreen with me and sunglasses and a hat, but I really just underestimated how strong the sun would feel and how long I would be in direct sunlight all day, every day for about 10 days. The second biggest mistake I made was not prioritizing cash, and specifically like small like change. A lot of the places that I stayed, like hostels and albergues that had laundry on site, like a washing machine, actually you could only pay by coin or by cash, which I did not anticipate, and I ran out of cash really early in my trip, from paying for cabs my first few days, and that was a huge mistake on my part. I did stay a few places where there was free laundry, and so I definitely took advantage of that, but I really underestimated how useful the coins would be for laundry machines. I just kind of hoped or assumed that some of them would take like a card or Apple Pay, and that was not the case anywhere I looked. Another big mistake I made, relatedly, was not having cash in general. I ran out fairly early because I was in a few situations where the cabs were cash only, and I only brought and exchanged like just not enough, honestly. I went through it quickly, and items I was thinking about paying with cash for later were not that expensive, but not having any cash was the issue. Even just having 20, 25 euros in cash, even 10 in cash, could have been helpful. For example, a lot of the buses are cash only, and it would have given me a lot of peace and mental relief to just be able to hop on the bus at some points where I got lost. Another example of when it would have been really useful to have cash is in Spain specifically. I noticed a lot of vending machines that were out on the street, almost more like mini markets. Like they would also have band-aids. I think some even had like medicine, coffee, snacks, and a lot of those were cash only. I did see a few that accepted cards, but typically they were cash only, and a lot of places where it was like donation based for pilgrims, people doing the walk to have cash in exchange for like water or banana, fruit. That would have been useful. Another mistake I made was not bringing a headlamp. They're really lightweight, and I actually own one. And it was really foolish for me to not bring it because I did have a few really early starts where it was quite dark. The area was not well lit, and I was nearby traffic that were pretty. Honestly, it was okay, but it was definitely not the safest to be doing, especially alone. And so I definitely regret not bringing a headlamp. Definitely a worthwhile addition to your bag. Another mistake I made was not bringing a backup hat. I had a great hiking hat early in and I misplaced it. I lost it within my first few days, and after that, I was quite reliant on the combination of my hood and sunglasses, which were definitely better than nothing. But having a backup hat, honestly, I usually don't wear them, but with the heat and the sun, I definitely wish I had had a backup. I regret not bringing earplugs. I underestimated how loud and how crowded hostels could be sometimes. And while some of the places I stayed were relatively quiet or empty, some places the vibe was just different and it was harder to sleep without them. Another mistake I made was not eating enough. I didn't fuel enough in the mornings, and I generally just don't think I was consuming enough calories for how much I was walking and moving. I don't track anything like that, but looking back, I definitely think, given how much I was covering each day mile wise, and just the exertion of being in the heat for that long with my pack, I think I definitely should have brought and carried more food with me, which would have added more weight, which is why I didn't. But either that or stopping more regularly for food. I would stop at cafes for like espresso and a pastry. But typically I would just stop at the grocery store and then eat a meal in town, or just stop at the groceries again and eat at the place I was staying for the night. But I think I just wasn't consuming quite enough calories and energy exertion wise. A mistake I made is I definitely should have brought a higher quality pair of sunglasses, just in terms of protection for my eyes. I picked up a cheap pair while I was in Portugal, and they were, again, better than nothing, but I should have probably brought something that were like a higher quality lens in terms of actually protecting my eyes and keeping them safe from all of that exposure. I definitely wish I had packed chapstick. I got dehydrated in my first few days, and I think it really dried out and chapped my lips. Probably all of the flying didn't help either. But it took me a couple days to actually get my hands on some chapstick in Portugal. I think just because of the timing and the stores I was looking in, I just wasn't able to find it. And when I finally got my hands on some Vaseline, it was like the biggest relief ever. But yeah, I definitely could have avoided that by just packing one of the many chapsticks I have at home, and I forgot. Another mistake I made is not booking hotels or hostels, not booking hostels where the beds all have a curtain. I did for some, and I definitely really prefer that experience. I think there were a few exceptions where it felt worth not having the curtain, just maybe because of how it was spaced out and still felt private enough. But generally, I definitely prefer the curtain, and I definitely prefer female only rooms. That was another mistake I made, was booking rooms that were co-ed. Unfortunately, that was pretty common along the Camino. I found some exceptions where it was female only, but if possible, I would go female only. I just feel safer.